Okay, this is a recap of Saturday, June 9th, 2012 at Belmont Park, Belmont Stakes Day, and what I did for Belmont Stakes Day was a pick three syndicate that turned out to be a little too small with the few people that actually showed up to play, and I went ahead with it knowing that the best way to win this bet is to be inclusive and even perhaps more inclusive uh, than you might naturally be. Because of the nature of the pick three and pick four, it's difficult to get the right horses in all the races with just three, or limiting the three, or trying to get two and three, uh, and you wind up having to do too much comparison horse to horse and too much eliminating of horses that have the ability to win. So I'm never real confident going into a card knowing that I'm going to be kind of limited in the picks and maybe not be able to be as inclusive as I'd rather be, because I've seen in the past several years that being inclusive, even to an overkill point, is the way to win this bet consistently and to make money with it. And that even still depends on you being able to be inclusive and get the right horses in there in that win perspective from race to race to race, and be consistent with it. So going all through the card, it can get tough. But I thought, maybe since it's Belmont Stakes Day, ability and ability X ratings might carry the day. Although I knew I was being a little short, but with what as small as the bank was, I tried to cover the whole card, as opposed to what should have been done probably was to just hit the first three very inclusive, the first couple, two or three pick bets, in the hopes of winning them and then proceeding with those winnings to finance the rest of the card in an inclusive manner. But there are all sorts of decisions to make when you're betting on horses, and at the end of the day, you make one, and it might turn out to be the right decision or the wrong decision. And what you're always striving to do is just getting to the point where you're making the right decision more often than the wrong decision. And learning how to do that can take quite a while, or it can take a short time, just depending on the individual and what the information is you have to work with. But what I did after the day came out the way it did, I made several mistakes in trying to be skimpy and trying to stretch things out to cover the whole card, which is normal. And actually, I expect that that's where I'll always make mistakes. Some of them are glaring, and the one glaring mistake in particular was in the Belmont Stakes itself. I had a little too much focus on my predeterminations on Dullahan and Union Rags, to the point that I didn't even notice what was what really going into the race. And another thing is, as everybody knows, I've been focusing on ability pairs as a strategy, or in having that provide an edge or an advantage in the pick three and pick four bets. And of course, several races are just loaded with several pairs, and perhaps on this day my focus on ability pairs might have been just a little too narrow, which that's the risk you always take when you're focusing in on something a little too much. Uh, it narrows your vision perhaps too much from time to time, and so you have to focus in, but you have to maintain a little bit of a wide angle on things uh, to make sure you're also taking into account all of the known consistencies that you're aware of and use all the time. You don't want to narrow your vision down to the point where a lot of that is excluded, because that is always costly. But on the day we came close on one early pick three, and then got totally blown out on the first pick four, which was in retrospect kind of unnecessary. Uh, and again, because the focus was more on one aspect than the other, and perhaps the other aspect isn't quite so high in the pecking order. I mean, I always try to say the one aspect that's probably most important with Ability X ratings is the par uh, point of view, and to look at the race through uh, what the par is for the distance and everything, and always try to maintain that, and always try to get that point of view in there, because it's very important. And it's very important because that's where you get the longer price horses from that are available. And I may have focused too much on pairs and actually squelched uh, that angle a little bit, the angle of par. I might have squelched that a little bit in over focusing on ability pairs, and maybe I'm looking at now, what makes sense overall. I may have been, I may be focusing a little too much on Ability X ratings and focusing not enough on traditional handicapping, or at least the morning line and what it tells you all the time, every day, over and over and over. And I continue to say that is one of the biggest consistencies in horse racing, is the effectiveness of the morning line. And at the end of Saturday, I felt kind of silly because I wrote a book 30 years ago that highlights that one thing pretty much, is the consistency of the morning line, and in particular the first three morning line picks. Favorite, second choice, and third choice, and how they will win day in and day out, like the sun coming up and going down every day. They'll win about 67% of the races, and I think that is the percentage I used in my book Racing Facts 30 years ago. And of course, over the last 30 years, I've seen where this is still just as true as it ever was, and I've also found out that the percentage basically goes back as far as 1880, as far as we can tell. As far as we can find, that's about how old those percentages are. And that just makes them even more reliable, to the point where you have to really question whether you need to do anything handicapping wise beyond the morning line. But of course, past performances are pretty good at obscuring ability, so I always say that you really need that viewpoint in there, because it handicapping past performances can obscure a good performance pretty well, because of the format it's in. But what I decided to do, and it made sense to me that this might just remedy the whole situation, was to combine the best of handicapping, which to me is the morning line, to combine that with the best of Ability X ratings, which to me is the ability to see longer price horses in a perspective that a past performance handicapper just can't quite get a hold of, because he's restricted to that format, he or she, and is unable to use the format of Ability X ratings, especially if they don't have them or not subscribing to them, or it's totally unfamiliar. But as far as just the ability of the horse to run, I don't think the past performance handicapper gets much exposure to that particular aspect of horse racing by itself. So I thought I would combine the two and go through this card with a requirement that I have 5 horses in each pick bet. I mean, to me, that's maximum inclusiveness, 5 horses. And what I would do would be to, say, take the favorite, second choice, and third choice from the morning line. And that supposedly would get me the best and most consistent horses that handicapping has to offer. And then insist on 2 more from Ability X ratings and in the perspective of par as far as Ability X ratings goes. But give me that perspective, give me 2 more. And whether I need them or not, whether it feels like I need them, whether I think I need them or not, I'm going to go ahead and find 2 more horses to put in here from that perspective, par. And that's the way I'll go through the whole card. We'll see what happens. So it made an amazing difference, and where it really made the biggest difference was in the races that were missed on Saturday from being a little bit too exclusive in my thinking, trying to get it down to 3 races, or 3 horses in the race. But I find that going the other way, on the other hand, saying, well, okay, here are 3 favorite, second choice, third choice from the morning line, 1, 2, 3, and now give me 2 more from the perspective of par and from Ability X ratings, to make 5. I don't care whether I need 5 or not. Give me 5. I want 5. But most average players will balk at that, because that ticket in a pick 3 costs $250 at the $2 level. But what I'm suggesting is that if you have the resources for that kind of betting, you're much better off to go ahead and overkill it a little bit, even in some cases, and you're better off to cover all the possibilities as much as you can. And still, sometimes you'll be leaving out possibilities, but you want to try to cover all of the main possibilities as possible. And 5 horses covers it pretty well. So to arbitrarily say, give me 5, I thought was a good move and made sense, especially with that particular 5. 3 from the morning line and 2 from Ability X ratings, and hopefully I'm getting the best of both worlds. And that would wind up with a high percentage of win. So we start in the first race with that. These are the picks in red. If you go over the card, you'll find that the first 3 are favorite, second choice, third choice by the morning line odds. And the other 2 are, as far as I can see, the best and closest to par, or the best representation of par in the race. And that may be a lower rating, it may be the simple pick, it may be the key horse, or it may be anything in between. But what I'm mostly looking for is the relationship to the par right here at the top of the chart. With those 2 horses, I want to find the 2 that are closest to the par in some way, and it could be one of them is the lowest rating within that par. So we start out with the first race, and of course we won it with 4, but we win it again with 5. We win the second with 5, and then we win the third with 5, mostly because the one I left out, the key horse, is brought in by being the second morning line choice, so that's fine. And with that also, I'm able to bring in number 4 onto the ticket at 20 to 1 morning line, but that is the horse that I would say is closest to par of the whole bunch. So with that par perspective, the 4 goes in as the 5th horse, and 2 goes in as the 4th, and being the simple pick and a low rating is the relationship to par there. So that works out real well, and it gets us the winner of the 3rd, which I would say I should have been able to get with 3, but like I said, sometimes just going with 2 or 3 and you focus a little too much on one thing than the other, it's still easy to miss a good contender. Harder to miss with 5. So we bring that one in, although you actually lose money on the bet, maybe $53. But that's not what's important. The important thing is that you have a high enough hit rate or success percentage that makes up for any shortfall on the actual payoff. And in the meantime, your money's always protected. So that's what we're mostly trying to do with the pick 3 and pick 4. And since they're volatile bets and oftentimes quite high, as long as one long shot comes in somewhere, it's great for the reward end, but being able to see that long shot and get it in your combo is very tough. And that's where the part from Ability X Ratings really helps out, because that's what Ability X Ratings does best. And we see the evidence of that in the 4th race with a $27.40 winner, number 4. And that was our last horse that we put in this race. From the perspective of par and equal speed with the number 6. Of course, number 6 is 2nd, and that's the Ability X Rating simple pick. 2180 to come in 2nd, and the winner is the 3rd place is number 2, which is a 4 to 1 that's brought in on the perspective of 1st, 2nd, 3rd choice. So we do pretty well on that pick 3, and that one pays $6.31, so that easily makes up for our loss, and we're in a decent profit margin already. Coming into the pick 4, first pick 4 of the day, we're able to win that pick 4 again with a longer priced horse and the pick 3. So now there's the opportunity to really pile up some money, but it's again one of the misses, one of the first misses, when I was trying to get it with just 4 horses from Ability X Ratings completely. And what we have is, when we come to the point of our 2 horses that we would get in or look at or find from the perspective of ability, from that par perspective, we have number 3, which is the winner of the race, and we also have number 11. And that one is the last horse, but in the perspective of par, deserves to be in there, being a rating of 88 and 89 early speed, which is very balanced for a grass or distance race. And so that's part of it. And 11 is 20 to 1, of course, being 2nd. It's doesn't do us any good on our pick bet, but it really helps out on any exotics we may be backing up with. And that's another point. With the insistence of 5 contenders, and done that way, the first 3 morning line choices and 2 from the perspective of ability, you've got, or you should have, pretty good coverage on the trifectas and even superfectas with those 5 horses. Sometimes the tougher races that are very competitive, such as the 4th, you might, if you actually wanted to have a good shot at the superfecta and trifecta, you would want to put in a 6th horse. And the chart basically tells you that might be a good idea, since you have so many contenders in the race. And as it turns out, it's number 3 that comes in fourth and almost tied with number 7. But number 3 comes in fourth at 50 to 1, while our long shot here, number 4, who's well within range of the simple pick and the key horse and everything else. That's why that one I am calling one of the par picks, and it's in line with par, although it's high, but the speed is high too. So that's what helps keeps it in line with par. And number 4 is our second par pick. Number 6 is the first, and number 6 is the simple pick, and also based on par speed and a little bit higher rating. But number 4 fits right in with number 6 as being 2 from the par perspective. And some of that is based on the number 2 and its rating, and the key horse, number 11, and its rating. Although they're brought in by number 11 being the favorite and number 2 being the second choice. But in comparing horse to horse a little bit, it's through the number 11 key horse and the number 2, which is a standalone good rating for this distance, that we're able to better see that number 4 at this high rating is still legitimate. And with the speed of the race, which is likely to be a little higher with these 3 on the top of the chart, that still makes sense. So that would require finding a 6th really to have a good shot at the superfecta, but I believe your trifecta is in there, and it might have paid close to $2,000. If you did go with another horse from the Ability X par, you would probably, quite a few people would probably be driven toward the 7 or the 3, and the 3 is the one that comes in fourth and makes this race a let's see, superfecta, $42,827, but it looks like it would take 6 horses. But you also had a couple of other superfectas and a few trifectas on this first 4 also. So that tells you you're getting the right 5 horses in there when this is happening. And the greatest thing about it is in winning the 5th race instead of losing it by being more inclusive, now you have plenty of money to work the rest of the card however you see fit, even if that includes putting 8 in there. If that's what's comfortable with you and you feel like it's justified, you've got the cash to do it with. So this puts you in the in a spot where you can really threaten that pick 3 and pick 4 for the rest of the day. In the 7th race, we have a pick 3 of 450, and then they start getting a little lower, 139. In the 8th, and in the 9th, 770, 229. We lose a few bucks on that one, and this is the one we won on Saturday with the limited strategy we had of trying to do a 3x3. So that one also pays good at $3.53 on a $2 level. Of course, I bet it on the $1 level because I'm trying to stretch out for the day. Not really a mistake, but you know, I put it down there as one. In retrospect, it's kind of easy to see where your mistakes are, and that's the thing, is you want to do that to see where your mistakes are, see what the remedies may have been, and that's the way to learn to do the remedies at the time, as far as I can see. But we make up for it in the 11th by winning that pick 3 and pick 4, and that would be under the scenario of putting 5 horses in, because the other 2 we would put in. That the let me see, our odds say Doulahan, the other horse, the second, the winner of the race, Union Rags, that's right. And we see that Union Rags and Painter were a ability pair. and perhaps should have been the primary pair in this race. But there they are, and that's the exacta. And but you also have a pick 3 and a pick 4 on this race, which are quite healthy. And with the 5 contenders, you've got it covered, and it makes sense that number 3 and number 9 should be on that ticket, and they are brought in with the morning line odds. Number 5, number 3, and number 9. And from there, you add number 1 and number 4 for safety and comfort and confidence, and it works out. And it also works out for the rest of the card, winning the next pick 3 at a loss. The Belmont Stakes is at a loss, and the final one is at a loss, but your pick 4 is where you make the good profit there. So on the day, you have 11 pick 3s bet 5x5, 250 apiece. That's a 2750 total bet for a return of 6,550, which is about 200% on your money in one day. So that's pretty good, especially on that level of money being bet. On one hand, you are betting quite a sum of money, but on the other hand, your hit rate should be such to where this is not a problem at all, and you should be enthusiastic about betting that higher amount of money, because the key to winning is usually right in there, having the resources to be able to bet at a upper level, so that more enables you to cover your losses and not be mentally affected by them. And that's the worst thing that happens from losses, is the psychological effect and the second guessing and the doubting. So by being inclusive with the best methods we can possibly have, which are the morning line and handicapping itself, and taking advantage of all that consistency, then also taking advantage of the consistency of Ability X ratings to spot the longer price horses whose ability is more obscured in the format of the racing form. It's a double whammy, big time weapon. And when you add the fact that you're also winning superfectas and trifectas with 5 horses that you're coming up with in the pick bets, that just fortifies everything and gives you a great way to back up what you're doing also, if you're at the level where you can do that, and just pile on more cash. But although I've been working on this for probably 5 years, trying to find some way to get Ability X ratings to get it down to no more than 3 horses per race and have that high hit rate, which I've done frequently, but at times it just isn't close enough, or the picks don't pay much, or something like that. So I've been working like 3 to 4 years just trying to either pick up the hit rate, or perhaps go with even less horses, and it just doesn't seem to work. So to me now it makes sense again to just be inclusive in a mandatory way, just not even bother if you can't be inclusive. And you know, this every time I've tried this, being inclusive has been the answer and provided the best and highest hit rate. And I've always said that even if a few pick 3s you're a little short of what you bet, don't worry about it, because you can depend on the public making mistakes, and that the odds are always in your favor. And I find that that's certainly true here. I think we have all 3 pick 4s, which is great, and but they cost $1,250 to bet at the $2 level. But they return, you know, give you the biggest return on close to 4,000. It's returned 14.2 at that level. But that amount can just as easily be double that or half that but even still, 3750 is bet, and even if it was $4,000 on that return, that's a profit. So it's fairly safe, and I think it I think it would be fantastic for rebate level players to be able to do this and play this at this level. And just for a little more fortification, I did this for Churchill Downs yesterday, where I went through the whole card in the morning and got my 5 horses. I put them up here on top, and I believe we won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I guess about 6 pick bets. And some of them very great payoffs. And I believe we won 2 pick 4s. Let me go up here. Yeah, let me look at the tally here. 8 pick 3s, $2,000 bet for a return of 6,010. So that's a net of 4,000 just on pick 3 bets. So that's fantastic for a one-day return. And it seems that the answer is be inclusive enough. Be inclusive even a little overboard if you need to, because the odds will take care of you. The odds are actually in your favor, and the public will make mistakes. And all you need to do is be inclusive and be fairly correct with a decent measure of ability, which Ability X ratings is. But here we missed. These are the pick 3s we missed. 1,700 and 7,600 in the 10th race, I believe. So that was 8th, 9th, and 10th, and it just so happened that a $48 horse that was spotted by Ability X ratings and our 5th horse in the combo had come in, but then we lose 2 remaining pick 3s and don't really get a whole lot of benefit out of it, except for the race it was in. But the real benefits look like they came after that race. But that's the way it goes sometimes. It's horse racing. You can't win them all. And the idea that you can be 200, 300% ahead at the end of the day on a good-sized bank, to me, that's pretty exciting. But even at that, we don't get the late pick 4, and that's $30,000 all by itself. So if this had been another perfect day, really would have stacked up tremendously. But that potential is always there, and I find it makes sense. It's always there and always doable if just a few things go right. And what we're doing here is turning these 1,200-pound animals loose on the track, and it's hard to have any control in that situation. And the best control is to have made a good bet. And it seems like putting 5 into the pick and trusting in everything else might be the best strategy to use. And I certainly like it. I'd like to keep doing this. And I believe that Ability X ratings would be do quite well as powering pick 3 and pick 4 syndicates, and along with looking into the superfecta. I mean, it is an interesting fact that you get a good positive percentage of superfecta wins with this same strategy also. I believe it's the 4th race where a simple pick comes in and pays $62.80. Well, that'll make all of our pick 3s surrounding just fantastic. But we also have a well, here in the 5th race, from that one big winner in 5th race, we have a $2,400 pick 3, and then in the 6th, $1,087. So that's my excitement. I think that's pretty great. If you could actually consistently win a couple thousand a day at the racetrack, where it seems like this is very much possible with the pick 3 bet, Ability X ratings, and all the old standard percentages of horse racing combined. So with that, I mean, that's all I've done here. And of course, the pairs are still in there and they're still working, but I think I'm broadening the scope just enough with 5 picks to where anybody can see what kind of consistency we actually have. And I've said this for a long time, horse racing is much more consistent than most people give it credit for. But here the first pick 4 is $12,500, and our first pick 3 is $1,578. So that's not too shabby at all. And I would suggest that even if you it's these $14,000 pick 4s or $12,000 pick 4s and even $5,000 10-cent pick 5s, where you're most comfortable with a betting strategy and an amount or a bank, this is definitely the way to go. And I believe doing it together in a syndicate would be perhaps the best thing for small groups of people. And I find it quite exciting. I appreciate you joining me for this recap, and I hope to see you again soon. And I also will be staying in the pick 3 business, because this is what I'd like to do, is cards like these from Churchill Downs, where I can be as exclusive as need be and make money for everybody. And I think it would have an appeal to all players, whether they're small or big, or amateurs or professionals or whatever. So I'm going to send this out to a limited number of people and hopefully get some feedback on it, because I'm pretty excited about it, and I think it would easily support a nice sized syndicate of, say, 20 people per week with a $200 bill to get in. I mean, I think that would have a great appeal, and also to rebate players and players on the higher level, because it also allows them to run money through the windows, which they're able to get their rebates based on that. And some of them do quite well as that is. But I believe they can see, or hopefully they can see, that that can be done much better oftentimes. So that's what we're trying to demonstrate, and I think we'll just keep the demonstration going, because I think it's a fine demonstration of what Ability X ratings can do. And what it's always been able to do, more than anything else, is to see that long shot in the perspective of ability and not in a perspective of handicapping. So I appreciate you joining me, and hopefully you'll be able to join me again in the near future, because I'm going to keep doing this, at least myself, and I believe that is a great solution for smaller players and groups. So I'd like to get some feedback on this if I could. So if you have a chance, throw me an email and tell me what you think, and I'll look at that for the next few days, and we'll decide whether we want to just kind of shut this aspect of Ability X ratings down, or do we want to expand it some. I mean, I think it's very expandable and very useful for winning money from the racetrack, which that's what it's all about. And it's also all about how quickly and how well you can learn this, and that is strictly repetition in following the ratings. So I appreciate it, and hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much.